When we think about the things we buy, the shoes, the clothes, the drinks, even our tech, most of us never stop to ask, who profits? Welcome back to the Behind the Brand series, where I take a look at the products you might be buying and break down whether or not they're funding a genocide. Over the past few months, I've broken down some of the world's biggest brands, from sportswear giants to food corporations, exposing the money trails, silent complicity, and moral contradictions behind what we buy. This is the Behind the Brand series compilation, a deep dive into how global consumerism and human rights intersect. Let's start where it all began. People always ask, do boycotts actually work? From apartheid South Africa to today's global movements for justice, boycotts have been one of the only few peaceful ways ordinary people can hit billion-dollar corporations where it hurts, their profits. But in a world where brands co-opt activism as profit, it's worth asking, who's really listening? And who's just rebranding? People say boycotting doesn't work, but if that's true, then why are billion-dollar companies literally blaming them in their own earning calls? Take Starbucks. They admitted that their sales have dropped 7% globally at the end of 2024, and their execs flat out said part of it was from the boycotts tied to Gaza and their labor issue. That's not internet chatter. That's the CFO talking to Wall Street. Or Target. After months of boycott, their sales have been sliding too, down almost 4% since 2025 and nearly 2% in the next quarter. All of this hits right as the company is scrambling with leadership changes and public backlash. That's pressure, plain and simple. And this isn't new, but it's still important to bring up. SodaStream pulled out of its West Bank factory in 2025 because of boycotting pressure. Ben & Jerry's made the decision to stop selling in occupied territories and are now all over the internet in their activism. These are real companies making real changes because consumers push back. Here's the thing. Companies don't need to lose all their customers for boycotts to bite. Just a few percentage points off sale, that's enough to spook investors, force boardroom talk, and change strategy. And when brands are naming boycott as a reason for felling profits, you know it's working. So I'm going to keep doing my Behind the Brand series because it works. And because boycotts aren't about being perfect or taking down a company overnight. They're about applying steady collective pressure. Every dollar is a vote. And the more intentional we are, the louder that vote gets. And in the comments, be sure to let me know what you're boycotting, because I'm sure I haven't thought of everything. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, free Congo, free Sudan, and free Palestine. And don't forget to keep boycotting. Speaking of rebranding, when comedian Matt Rife suddenly became the face of a luxury skincare, many didn't realize that what's behind the marketing was the same financial powerhouse, BlackRock and Vanguard. They don't just invest in your favorite products. They own them. And their money quietly flows into industries and governments complicit in ongoing atrocities. This is where celebrity endorsements and investment portfolios start to look a lot less harmless.
Hey girl, has overpriced beauty hurt your wallet?
This is the ad that e.l.f. just dropped, and it's causing a lot of drama. I'm Kim, and this is the Behind the Brand series, where I take a look at the products you might be buying and break down whether or not it's helping to fund a genocide. So e.l.f. just dropped a campaign with Matt Rife, yes, that Matt Rife, who made a domestic violence joke in his Netflix special and then apologized by linking critics to a website selling protective helmets. And now people are calling out e.l.f. for ignoring the values of their own audience. And this is just one of the problems that they're facing right now. On top of that, e.l.f. just raised prices by $1 on their entire product line. Now, they claim that 75% of their products are still under the $10 range, but for a brand who's built affordability on its name, customers are noticing the shift, especially when it happens right before running and mocking expensive beauty brands. But here's the part that should matter to you the most. e.l.f. is a publicly traded company, and some of its largest shareholders are BlackRock and Vanguard, two of the biggest investment firms in the world. They have their hands in almost every single product that we buy on a daily basis. These companies don't just invest in Israel. They invest in multiple industries and companies tied to genocide and human rights abuses across the world, including weapons manufacturing and corporations that profit directly from the occupation in Palestine. So when you buy e.l.f., part of that money boosts the value of these investors' holdings. It's indirect, but it's part of the whole cycle. And when we say we are pro-Palestinian and anti-genocide, we can't ignore that our purchases help fuel the same financial systems funding oppression. e.l.f.'s bad choice in celebrity partnerships and their price hikes are frustrating. But the BlackRock and Vanguard connection is a bigger deal for anyone who shops with their values. If we want our money to reflect ethics, e.l.f. isn't a brand that we should be supporting. So now that you know the ethics behind this brand, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment and let me know if you'll still be buying e.l.f. or if this changes the way you shop. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, free Palestine, free Sudan, and free Congo. Reebok once marketed freedom and athleticism, but few remember their role during the apartheid era. The ties between global brands and racial oppression don't disappear. They just evolve. What do Reeboks and apartheid have in common? More than they want you to know. Gal Gadot, the IFA, illegal settlements. Let's talk about Reebok's dirty little secret. I'm Kim, and this is the Behind the Brand series, where I take a look at the products you might be buying and break down whether or not they're helping to fund a genocide. In 2025, Reebok stepped in as the official sponsor for the IFA, or the Israeli Football Association, an organization that includes teams playing in illegal Israeli settlements built on Palestinian land. This isn't just sports. This is sports washing apartheid. And Reebok knew exactly what they were signing up for. Let's be clear. Adidas dropped the IFA back in 2018 after 16,000 people signed a global boycott petition. Then Puma took it over. They were forced to drop out after 5 years of pressure. Even Nike pulled out. In 2025, Italian brand agreed to take the deal, but quit before even printing a single jersey due to the backlash. So what did Reebok do? They took the deal anyways, fully aware of what it represents. And let's not forget, Reebok already has a history of aligning itself with Israeli propaganda. In 2018, they launched a campaign featuring Gal Gadot, an IDF veteran, and a mouthpiece for Israel. At the same time she was defending Israel's military assaults, Reebok was giving her a platform. So this new deal with the IFA, it's not a surprise. It's a pattern. Like most global sportswear brands, Reebok offers no transparency about where its materials come from. That's a red flag, especially when conflict minerals and labor exploitations, like in Congo and Sudan, are fueling entire economies. So will you still be buying Reebok? Let me know in the comments down below. As for me, I suggest that you don't buy Reebok. Support brands that stand for liberation, like Pali Roots, Hyper Peace, FC Palestina, and Lyra. Brands like Reebok don't get to profit off genocide and go unchecked. Share this, speak up, and as always, free Palestine, free Sudan, and free Congo. Then there's Adidas, a brand born in Nazi Germany, still profiting from global labor exploitation today. When silence becomes corporate strategy, complicity follows. So what if I told you that your favorite sneakers are soaked in silence, complicity, and blood? Let's talk about Adidas, what they support, who they silence, and what you can do instead. I'm Kim, and this is the Behind the Brand series, where I take a look at the products you may be buying and break down whether or not they're helping to fund a genocide. Now, Adidas still collaborates with Delta Galil, an Israeli clothing manufacturing company with military ties. Delta Galil helps produce Adidas apparel, including underwear line, linking Adidas profits to Israeli industry that benefits from occupation. And in 2024, Adidas launched a campaign featuring Palestinian model Bella Hadid, referencing the 1972 Munich Olympics. Israel called it offensive. So what did Adidas do? They pulled the ad and apologized to Israel, but not to Bella. Now, since then, Hadid has said, "My team should have known. Adidas should have known. And I should have done more research so that I too would have known and understood and spoken up." They silenced a Palestinian voice to say in Zionism favor. Adidas, like many other major brands, uses cobalt and coltan in their tech gear. Think self-lacing shoes or performance sensors. These minerals are often mined in the Congo, where kids risk their lives in dangerous, unregulated pits. And the Congo is also in the middle of its own active genocide. Adidas may not mine this stuff for themselves, but their suppliers do. And Adidas chooses silence. Now, Adidas isn't confirmed to use any Sudanese gold or cotton, but here's the problem. They don't fully disclose where their materials come from. When brands try to hide their supply chain, they protect profits, not people. With Sudan's resources fueling violence, transparency matters. So where should you shop instead? Here's a list of dope, ethical brands that align with the values that we support. Pali Roots. It's a Palestinian-owned lifestyle brand. Every purchase funds relief projects and education in Palestine. FC Palestina is another great place for you to look. It's a sportswear collective representing Palestinian pride on and off the field. Hyper Peace is another great option. This is a streetwear company designed for liberational movements. It's bold, it's political, and it's 100% unapologetic. And Lyra, founded by Muslim women, creates modest swimwear and activewear that's ethically produced. Adidas dropped the ball. They chose profits over people. Let's choose people over their profits. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, free Congo, free Sudan, and free Palestine. And Puma, it shares more than a family name with Adidas. Both trace their roots to the same divided brothers, and both have continued legacies tied to exploitation, settlement economies, and silence on genocide. Before you buy another brand of Pumas, watch this. This is the Behind the Brand series, where I take a closer look at the products you might be buying and break down whether or not they're funding a genocide. Puma is one of the most boycotted brands in the Palestinian movement. Why? Because it was the official sponsor of the Israeli Football Association, or IFA, which includes teams from illegal Israeli settlements built on stolen Palestinian land. But here's the update. In 2023, after years of pressure from activists, Puma ended its sponsorship of the IFA. That means that one of the biggest corporate supporters of Israel's occupation backed down because of you. So when it comes to Israel, Puma is no longer a primary target for boycotts. But what about other injustices? We know brands like Nike and Apple are directly tied to the conflict minerals from Congo, where children are forced to mine cobalt and coltan for electronics and shoes. But what about Puma? Their supply chain is mostly textiles and rubber, meaning they're not fueling Congo's mineral exploitation the same way other brands do. And when it comes to Sudan, there's no clear evidence that Puma profits from its genocide or resource exploitation. Unlike Nike, Puma has a more transparent supply chain with fewer links to industry fueling genocide. So, should you boycott Puma? For Israel, they've cut their ties. For Congo and Sudan, there's no strong evidence linking them to genocide. But should we fully trust them? That's up to you. Now that we know the truth, will you still be buying Puma? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, free Congo, free Sudan, and free Palestine. Protein that tastes like juice? I used to skip protein all the time because I hated how thick and chalky shakes felt. They were more like a chore than something I look forward to. But then I found Seek. It's a clear whey protein that mixes like juice and tastes even better. 22 grams of refreshing protein that I actually want to drink. And in the 9-pack box, you get to try 3 of Seek's most popular flavors: the Blue Ras Freeze, Watermelon Wave, and Strawberry Lemonade. Get them now before they're all gone. Nike sells empowerment, but behind the swoosh are factories, military contracts, and shareholders with direct investments and human rights abuses. When profits become God, morality becomes marketing. What if I told you that your favorite sneaker brand is tied to war, exploitation, and apartheid? This is the Behind the Brand series, where I take a closer look at the products you might be buying and break down whether or not they're funding a genocide. And today we're looking at Nike. Nike operates in Israel, directly supporting an economy that funds the occupation and military attacks on Gaza. While other brands like Puma face pressure to cut ties, Nike remains complicit. But it doesn't stop there. You know that Nike's high-tech sneakers, like the Adapt BB and the Hyper Adapt, rely on cobalt and coltan, minerals mined in the Democratic Republic of Congo or the DRC. These minerals power the self-lacing technology and wearable sensors in the Nike shoes. These minerals are mined under horrific conditions, often using child labor and fueling the armed conflicts. Nike doesn't mine there directly, but their suppliers do. And the money flows back to those profiting off suffering. And let's not forget about Sudan, another country facing genocide. Western corporations like Nike benefit from instability in Sudan, where gold, oil, and other resources are exploited for profit. Nike's supply chain isn't transparent, meaning that materials used in their clothing and shoes could come from areas where warlords and corrupt governments profit off destruction. So, what can we do? Stop buying Nike. Hit them where it hurts. Their bottom line. Support ethical brands or shop secondhand. And if you already have the products at home, order them, use them, but don't buy new products. And spread awareness. These companies only change when we force them to. So now that you know the truth, will you still be buying Nike products? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for listening. And as always, free Congo, free Sudan, and free Palestine. The brands we hear about don't just shape how we look. They shape global politics. In part 2, we'll move from fashion to what's in your kitchen and your fridge, and uncover how even your favorite drinks might be funding destruction. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a comment down below and let me know what other products or companies you want me to cover next. So thank you so much for listening, and as always, free Congo, free Sudan, and free Palestine.